Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public information, nonpartisan service program designed to get acquainted with the candidates vying for the 2022 general election for Congressional District Number 6, Senate Districts 10 and 11, House Districts 17 through 23, Salem City Council, and Marion County Commissioners. These interviews come to you through the producers at Capital Community Media, collaboration on questions and moderators by the Association of University Women, Salem City Club, and the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties. All 27 candidates were invited, and all but 6 chose to participate in these interviews. Candidates did not receive the questions prepared by the League of Women Voters ahead of time. Candidates were invited to prepare a 2-minute opening statement addressing their background and qualifications for the office, as well as a 2-minute closing statement addressing their goals for the office if elected. My name is Toma Cadu, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties. It's my pleasure to introduce Anthony Medina, who's running for House District 22. Welcome, candidate Medina. We look forward to your opening statement.
Hi, Tamika. It's great to be here today. So as you mentioned, my name is Anthony Medina. I'm a candidate for Oregon House District 22. I decided to run for this district because I was born and raised in this district, and I'm passionate about serving the community here. For folks who are familiar, I grew up in Jervis. It's a small farm working town. I grew up with my grandparents who moved to the Greater Willamette Valley back in the 1960s as farm workers. And so growing up, my grandparents raised me as the first in my family to graduate from high school, first to go to college. And so after graduating from high school, I was working at the NORPAC facility in Brooks, if you're familiar, right off I-5. And I was driving forklift during the summer, and a college advisor gave me a call and said, "Hey, Anthony, what are your plans during the fall?" And I said, "I have no clue. I'm working a forklift at the cannery. What do you think I should be doing?" And they said, "Well, there's orientation next week at Western Oregon University. You should attend." So I went to orientation and fell in love with the campus, not because of, nice college buildings, but because of the words of my grandfather growing up. He'd always tell me, "Mijo, get a job inside with air conditioning." And from there, I got involved in student government, etc. I started tutoring at local high schools, Dallas, McKay, and Central High School. In 2013, as a junior year in college, I was selected as the National Upward Bound Student of the Year. So only student in the country to receive the award, first Oregonian to receive it. Opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., study at a Center for Government, and work for a member of Congress when I was in Peter DeFazio's office. Came back to Oregon for my senior year at Western. I graduated valedictorian in my class and went to Stanford. Got my master's degree in education policy. I wanted to know why students like me growing up, first gen, low income background, weren't being reflected in our college classrooms. First job back in Oregon was working for the state's chief financial office doing state finance work. And for the last 5 years, I've been serving as the senior policy analyst for all the public universities here in the state of Oregon.
Thanks for that background information. Now let's give you an opportunity to address our questions developed for this interview. Our first question relates to the Inflation Reduction Act. Could you please discuss it and what elements will benefit Oregon?
Mm-hmm. Well, the Inflation Reduction Act is legislation at the federal level. So those dollars and investments we will see here in the state of Oregon. And what's most important is that how are those resources being targeted to working class, low income Oregonians, particularly in this district. House District 22 is one of the lowest income House districts here in the state of Oregon, and it has a very high percentage of seniors. And so how are we addressing and providing resources to seniors who are living on fixed incomes, who are stretching their dollars in ways that they've never had to stretch before? And so how can we target folks who are living on fixed incomes and our seniors? And at the same time, how are we working with our middle class and low income Oregonians in this district to help them be ready for the workforce, etc. I've had conversations with folks up and down this district over the last several months, door knocking, and one thing that I'm very passionate about is ensuring that our education system aligns with workforce outcomes. And so when we have conversations around, particularly right now with inflation, and it sounds weird to use a Warren Buffett quote, but I saw a video the other day, a couple of weeks ago, on Warren Buffett, and he said the number one way to tackle inflation is to make sure that you really utilize your tools and invest in yourself. Ensure you have access and stronger pathways for apprenticeships, on-the-job training, et cetera. And so that's great, and that works for folks who are in the workforce, but how are we investing in our seniors and folks on fixed income? And that's what I'm interested in the legislature, in ensuring that folks from all spectrums have access to resources.
Thank you for that. What do you think about renewable energy tax credits?
Renewable energy on itself, I think, is a great way to move forward and ensure that our climate, our community is cleaner, and working on a grid and an infrastructure and an energy system that continues to benefit folks, at the regional level, at the national level, et cetera. When it comes to renewable tax credits, every single tax credit is different. And in the legislature, I would want to be able to look at those investments, language and statute, et cetera, and proposals, and also talk with the community and stakeholders here in House District 22 to see how folks feel about it and get that feedback.
Our next question is, what steps should be taken to address Oregon's youth mental health needs?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a perfect question, particularly coming out of the pandemic, right? I've been serving on the school board in Woodburn for the last 5 years, and in every year we've made investments in mental health resources and opportunities for our students and our staff. But particularly during COVID, over the last 2 years, we made substantial investments in counselors, psychologists, social workers, not only in expanding resources in the classroom, but virtual opportunities for our students to have that mental health support that they need, open up conversations at the building level, and really empower administrators and our educators to have those conversations with our students. How are you feeling? Do you need to talk to someone? Here are resources we have, not only at our school, but here in our community, and continuing to make those investments.
Now let's explore an aspect of elections. What is being done to protect and support county election officials and their support staff as they conduct their election duties? Is there anything else that should be done?
Can you reframe your question?
We're asking about the vulnerability of county election officials in this day and age, and looking to what is being done to protect and support them at this time, and if anything else should be done.
Yeah, thank you. I think particularly when it comes to the folks doing the work at the county level, having clear communication and ensuring that the messaging that they put out with folks is accountable, transparent, and that's at the county level. And at the state level, with the Secretary of State, ensure that there are supports on the back end where the Secretary of State also could come in and say, yeah, look, this county, whether it's Marion County, Washington County, or any of the counties here in the state of Oregon, are doing their jobs in a way that meets voters' expectations, has high election integrity, the highest election integrity, and that any recommendations coming from nonprofit groups or folks who are doing the work not only in Oregon but across the country, if there are best practices, ensuring that those best practices are incorporated into the work that the counties are doing, and the counties have support at every level, whether it's additional resources coming from the state, et cetera.
Thank you. Considering Oregon's unique taxpayer kicker policy, what impact do you think it has on the financial accountability and stability of state government?
so on the accountability and stability on state government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a great question because Oregonians, folks around have a lot of questions around the kicker, right? Every year we say the kicker is going to be X amount. How much is going back to individuals? There's also the business side of the kicker, and how are we setting up our budget and our revenue system to reflect our priorities here in the state of Oregon? I previously worked for the state's chief financial office, and so I was very interested in ensuring that our revenues meet our expenditures. In that office, yeah, I have direct experience balancing the state budget. I had a portfolio of a couple $100 million, and not only ensuring that my portfolio was balanced at the end of the day, but Oregonians' portfolios were balanced. So we balanced in total about an $80+ billion budget, and so ensuring that our economy is thriving, that Oregonians, working class Oregonians, feel like they're reflected in our resources, and that when Oregon thrives, the individuals thrive. When Oregon thrives, we have a revenue system that says, "Hey, we budgeted to this amount. Oregon's revenue was coming back in a way that showed robust growth and economic growth, and individuals who paid into those additional dollars are now getting a refund." And so to go back to the accountability part, that ensures that states are accountable and ensures that our system is transparent.
Thank you for that. Let's turn to a question about education. How should we address the teacher shortages that Oregon is currently experiencing?
Mhm. It's fascinating to see education and how our system has moved and morphed over the last several years, let alone the last decade. But investing in our educators and investing in our staff truly reflect our values as Oregonians and ensuring that our students have the best quality public education that they deserve and we can provide. When it comes to recruiting and retaining staff, we need to make sure that that our school buildings are safe, that their working conditions reflect the values that we place on our educators, that our educators feel comfortable in the classrooms. That means reducing class sizes, making sure that our students have access to quality, to have access to folks who are excited to work, excited to teach, and that our students see themselves reflected in their educators as well. Recruiting and retaining educators is also something that every single district in pockets all across Oregon and across the country are being challenged with right now, particularly in Woodburn. And I think about our experience, we are able to retain our educators at a lot higher rate than other districts have. And I believe that's because we've invested in our educators, not only on the compensation side, but ensuring that they have feeling like they're valued in the classroom. They have autonomy over what they teach their students, et cetera, the curriculum, and that they're valued in the work they do. Aside from that, we have done a lot of work working with our union to ensure that our collective bargaining agreements are strong and that they're student-centered.
Thank you. Does Oregon have the resources to provide adequate and accessible health care to Oregonians? Why or why not?
It's always a point in time, right? So one thing that I've learned over the course of campaigning is that during the pandemic, over 100,000 Oregonians had expanded access to the Oregon Health Plan, right? We were going through a global pandemic that affected everyone, and we wanted to make sure that no Oregonian went without access to quality and without access to healthcare. Now that the pandemic is no longer here, we see that folks are losing access to healthcare, particularly those 100,000+ Oregonians are getting kicked off the Oregon Health Plan. And so what we need to ensure is that every single Oregonian, and this is something I'm very passionate about, is that every single Oregonian has access to quality and affordable healthcare. Our seniors shouldn't feel like they are spending the last dime on trying to afford healthcare. Our young folks, our young folks who don't have access to healthcare, need to ensure that they have access to healthcare, whether they're a K-12 student, et cetera. And our folks transitioning between workforce, we have huge workforce shortage, and et cetera, and people are moving around. And when that happens, folks lose access to healthcare. So ensuring that every single Oregonian continues to have access to quality and affordable healthcare is central to the work that I'm passionate about doing.
Thank you, candidate Medina. It's now your opportunity to share your 2-minute closing statement about your goals for the office if you're elected.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity. My goals for the office as someone who was born and raised in this district, and I've been working around this community for a long time, I was just ensuring that our public education system continues to be as strong and robust as possible, particularly coming out of a global pandemic where our students struggled. Our students struggled to learn online, struggled to come back in person, and just focus on learning opportunities for folks and for our students, and ensuring that our public education system is set up in a way that every single community across the state of Oregon, not just districts who are more in more affluent parts of Oregon, but that every single district in the state of Oregon and folks have a quality local public school. Aside from that, I'm very passionate about healthcare, as you mentioned earlier. Every single Oregonian deserves to have quality and affordable healthcare, and in the legislature, I want to support that and ensure that Oregonians throughout their walk of life can always say and have the assurance that they have access to quality and affordable healthcare. And lastly, I'm ensuring that our workforce system meets the needs of Oregonians. And so we have shortages from nursing to education, et cetera. And so I want to invest and make sure we continue to build our career and technical education pipelines, our apprenticeship programs, on the job learning opportunities for every single Oregonian.
Thank you, Anthony Medina, for our interview today and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks also to Capital Community Media for their extensive technology and producer skills used to create this program. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties for the design and preparation of the program, and to AAUW and Salem City Club for their help in developing questions and providing moderators. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become a more informed voter. For more local, state, and national voter information on candidates and ballot issues, please visit vote411.org. You have until October 18th to register to vote or to make any changes on your registration. Ballots will be mailed out around October 19th, 20th, and according to a new law, will be accepted if postmarked before or on November 8th. Elections matter. Remember to vote, because your vote counts.